Hey GBA fans, I'm Choice CJ, back once again to bring you Game of the Week, this time for Week 3 of Season 7 of the GBA, followed of course by our Season Award Watch. I am again flying solo this week, but my sources tell me that a co-host is indeed on the way just as soon as he or she completes their training way up in the mountains. Gotta make sure they're landing crits and scoring high rolls, am I right? Anyway. Let's hop right into my pick for Game of the Week. And as much as I wanted to select Chimpac's match with Duncan, a neutral field game taking place at McDonald's Stadium, I am awarding instead the Game of the Week for Week 3 to the Detroit Steel Wings and the Utah Jasmine, Crimson and Cooper, in what was pretty clearly the closest Game of the Week in my opinion. And it kind of works out because this is Cooper's penultimate game in the GBA, so we get to pay homage to his unique style of battling and commentating over the seasons.
Is to go with an unconventional strategy that it might work, it might not, but we're going to see the team I got right now. So we're going to start off with Sableye.
Now, this match was really back and forth. The momentum kept on exchanging between the two players. You start off with the Life Orb Tornadus T, which lures in the Zapdos. The Zapdos lures in the Crocodile, but the Zapdos U-turns into Breloom. And then the Breloom lures in the Serena, which again lures in the Zapdos, but the Serena U-turns. And we're only a few turns in, and I'm already feeling exhausted by this game. And multiple permutations of this sort of exchange took place over the course of the game, and it was really great. Every time it felt like one player was beginning to gain an edge, the other would make a play to shift things back in his favor. As played, Cooper is able to find an opportunity to bring in his spec Swellow by U-turning with Zapdos on a Crocodile switch-in. Crimson's team at this point is starting to look a little whittled due to all the pivoting, and it looks like something is about to get OHKO'd or perhaps 2-hit KO'd by Boomburst. Crimson does elect to sack his Slowbro, which is a fair play, given that Cooper's Darmanitan is warming the bench this week, and Slowbro doesn't really match up that well versus the rest of the Jasmine's team. Crimson then goes right into his Scarf Cobalion, and Cooper doesn't seem convinced that the Cobalion is packing both Stealth Rock and a Choice Scarf. So he calls out the bluff, and Cooper probably should have been punished for this play, but instead his Swellow hangs on like a lord by just a sliver of HP. And unfortunately for Crimson, this means that Swellow is going to be able to get another kill, this time on the Serena, which is one of Crimson's better switch-ins to Zapdos. So whereas last week Cooper was the one who sort of began to suffer in the mid-game, this time Crimson was starting to show a couple signs of desperation. He followed up this by learning the hard way that his Crocodile actually outsped the Zapdos, and so he made a nice play trying to go for Earthquake on a predicted roost, but unfortunately that doesn't work when the Zapdos is slower. And on top of that, the Zapdos went for a U-turn and brought in the Klefki, which is going to be really nice for Cooper to allow him to get up the dual screens, and follow that up by bringing in his Z Rain Dance Tailglow Manaphy. Now, this seems like it would have been a great position for Coop, but once the Crook goes down, Crimson is going to bring in his Kyurem, and this is where the match swings back into his favor a little bit. Kyurem is going to land a nice critical hit on the Manaphy, which ignores the screens and manages to land an OHKO. And this is huge. Z-Rain Dance Manaphy could have easily won the game because either it outspeeds the Pokemon that Crimson has, or it has the bulk to live a hit and fire back with a rain-boosted Surf. Crimson's return to glory, though, is a little short-lived, as a few turns later the Kyurem finds itself back in the heat of battle. Cooper brings in his Scrafty, and this time around the screens come through for Cooper, as the Scrafty is able to live 2 Choice Specs Draco Meteors from Kyurem. Scrafty in turn KOs the Kyurem, removing Crimson's biggest threat and setting the stage for Cooper to secure a 1-0 victory. So even though there were moments where it looked like Crimson was going to bring the game back into his favor, and, Crimson even got another 3 kills on his all-star Pokemon Cobalion, at the end of the day, it ended up being Cooper finishing up on top on the backs of his Scrafty and his Zapdos, and of course, that Choice Specs Swellow.
And then, which one is Swellow going to be?
Which match did you think was the most exciting this week? As always, make sure to leave your pick down in the comments below. Now let's switch gears and look at the season award watch, starting again with the offensive mon of the season. At this point, I really have no choice but to give Cobalion my top spot, securing 9 kills in the first 3 weeks. Even though Crimson was on the losing side of the battle versus Cooper, Cobalion did pick up another 3 kills, as I mentioned. Behind Cobalion, there are 4 Pokemon that have gotten at least 1 direct kill in every week thus far, those being Volcanion, Landorus Eye, and newcomers to the conversation, Terrakion and Swellow. Volcanion is looking like a big threat. It has scored at least 2 kills every week, making it a strong number 2 in my book. This week, its most impressive feat was 2-hit KOing a Torkoal not with Steam Eruption, but with Flamethrower. And to top it off, the set wasn't even max special attack with choice specs, but it was instead a Scarf set. And while the Sun from the Torkoal definitely provided a big benefit to the Volcanion, it really just shows you how much natural power it really has. And Chimp's Volcanion really paved the way for a late game sweep by the Azumarill. On the other side of that battle, Duncan's Cheeky Lando picked up another kill, this time on Kyurem Black, and I gotta say, Landorus would have put a really big dent into Chimp's Azumarill too, but Azu unfortunately landed a crit with the Aqua Jet, leaving the Azu completely healthy for the late game. In any case, it's looking like Lando is still a mon that demands preparation when team building, even without the Sheer Force ability. Terrakion finally had a huge week, scoring 3 kills for the Rampardos versus the Florida Gators. Good thing Dan insists on bringing each of his mons to the Optometrist at the start of each season, because Terrakion managed to hit 7 straight Stone Edges to knock out Gators Heatran, Diggersby, and Hawlucha. The Jasmine's Swellow picked up 2 kills this week, as we saw in our Game of the Week segment. Swellow is not a Pokemon that frequently gets brought to every league game, but Cooper is showing the whole league why Swellow is a big threat. And when you think about it, normal resists are few and far between in league format, especially when a Pokemon like Swellow can run Scrappy to hit ghost types, so perhaps we should be less surprised by Swellow's success. In addition, I still think Buzzwole belongs in the conversation, even though it didn't make an appearance in Mono's Week 3 match. It has really shown itself as a force to be reckoned with so far this season, with a multitude of sets that it can run, whether it's a Banded set, a Scarf set, Power Up Punch, Bulk Up, Assault Vest, and so on. I could certainly make a case for probably 5 other Pokemon to be in this discussion, but I will save that for another day and elect to move on. In the defensive category, I have Melodic of the New Orleans Pelipers leapfrogging the Zapdos for top wall so far this season, with, of course, the caveat that Melodic would not have been so potent in Week 3 had Hoodlum Scrafty maybe appreciated more how hard it is to kill. Still, this is not the first time that Melodic has won John a game this season, so Melodic's definitely not a bad choice here. But, that being said, Zapdos still belongs in this category, I think, especially after its performance this week, coming through with big damage on Crimson's Slowbro and Tornadus. On top of that, it was able to whittle away at Crocodile, which supposedly is a counter to Zapdos, but not when it's packing U-Turn, even though it might have had only 9 attacking IVs. One other mon that I'd like to bring into the discussion is Empoleon of the San Diego Chimchargers. Not only has Empoleon earned either a direct or passive kill in every week so far this season, it has been very instrumental in controlling the Hazard War for Envy. In Week 3, for example, it was able to set up rocks versus Battle.Rx's Starmie, which provided crucial chip damage for Envy's setup Muck. The turn before that, it was actually able to prevent rocks from the Lycanroc getting off an Aqua Jet, which was able to knock out the Lycanroc. In Week 2, it's worth remembering that it was able to prevent rocks from Skarmory that were being set up by the New Orleans Pelipers, and he was able to get up rocks of his own. So I think that that is definitely worthy of a mention here. And similarly, Fortress from the Philadelphia Scizors has been really pivotal in setting up and removing hazards. It hasn't necessarily walled a whole lot of Pokemon in the first 3 weeks, but the utility support that removing Sticky Web, setting up Stealth Rocks, setting up Toxic Spikes provides is just too good to ignore. There are loads of other mons, again, that could be mentioned here, but we'll save that for another time. Finally, for the Coach of the Season category, I think that the clear frontrunner for this award at this point of the season is Monotui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxray, seeing as he's the only coach to start the season undefeated. For folks who only knew Mono from his Season 6 GBA performance, you might be a little surprised that he's off to such a strong start, but anyone who is familiar with Mono knows that he has a long track record of success in other leagues, so to be honest, his GBA success was only a matter of time. He's just putting on so much pressure with Pokemon like Buzzwole, Zygarde, Greninja, and using his walls really effectively that he looks really unstoppable, I've got to say, and I think other coaches are really starting to take notice. The other analysts are starting to take notice. So that's who I would say is my number one choice for who's going to turn out at the end of the season with the Coach of the Season award. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have another episode in the books. Thank you all for watching, and I do strongly encourage you to share in the comments who your picks are for the different season award categories. It really is fun for me and the analysts to read what you guys think about these Mons and these matches. Make sure you subscribe to the GBA channel for all of the analyst videos, and please be sure to check out our coaches so that you stay up to date on all of the action each week. My name is Joyce CJ, and I will see you guys next time.